Nothing could stop me from erupting his stomach. Don't have to climb to the charts to see you plummet. If I ask Osama bin, they'll say let's bun it. BET won't let me perform on Teen Summit. I never took the rap oath like whack MCs. D. Brad didn't, so I see he's got clean knees. Handkerchief head and Jemima niggas, giving fiat to fags like Hilfiger and other niggas. Lifting your face cause your mind's deconstructed. Thinking like a cyborg, doing what's instructed. AI to me is one of the best engineers. And punks charging studio time or leeching queers, except Nia, cause he never gets his props, but never conspired or did work for devilish cops. He was on the block and been on the block, still on the block, but can't get knocked or get locked. Studio gangsters wanted shot up like Pac to make a name, but this ain't a game, so serious you think it's normal rhyming. Seeking rights, but you know you'll never find them. Rappers are puppets, yeah, just watch me wind them up. Gangster lyrics got youths in crime and stuck. I would've sworn it was quicksand. Riding a bike with no seat, no chain, no kickstand. I'm giving you too much and you can't withstand. Like Malcolm and the NOI, I gotta disband. I might have a deal, some distribution, maybe not. Seen too many cheated when they signed the dotted spot. Nothing can stop me from erupting his stomach. Don't have to climb to the charts to see you plummet. If I ask Osama bin, they'll say let's bun it. BET won't let me perform on Teen Summit. Call me, man. Nothing can stop me from erupting his stomach. Don't have to climb to the charts to see you plummet. If I ask Osama bin, they'll say let's bun it. BET won't let me perform on Teen Summit. I watch these rap moors looking all out of butt. Basketball moors, all they do is slap up the butt. Don't say it's a game just to justify the fag. I seen LJ and Shaq dressing in drag. I seen Isaiah and Magic kiss and justify it. Charles Barkley knows the truth and he can't deny it. Try it. They boxing out with the ass and back him down with the butt. I'm looking at ball nowadays like what the fuck? Where's the high fives? Nowhere to be seen. I'm seeing guards made a hit calling sisters ice cream. They call her earth and yeah, they treat her like dirt. Noble Drew said humanity is written on the skirt. All you wanna do is get numbers and flirt. Homies over hoes, just like Ernie and Bert. Gangstalicious, got youths like Riley promoting the gay. 2 earrings and long shirts, man, you're shopping all day. High heel slave hanging tree boots, you coon goose. Wearing fatigues on the block and you're surrounded by troops. You got guns, you claiming tons, but take clubs to the head while the police are selling you drugs. Undercover, sometime as a cracker or your brother. No invite for the sellouts to the Last Supper. Nothing can stop me from erupting his stomach. Don't have to climb to the charts to see you plummet. If I ask Osama bin, he'll say let's bun it. BET won't let me perform on Teen Summit.
I got to know many of the people who produce music and sing the music and play the music that you play. Now, one of the closest friends that I got during that time that I obtained was a man named David Crosby. Crosby, Still, Nash & Young. And I saw David the day before Christmas last year, talked with him. I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood, and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store, and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, now I'll have to explain some of this when I'm done, because you're not going to understand it all unless you know something about music. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I said, okay, one last thing. I've been hearing that you must be an initiated witch now to get a record contract. He said, that's right.
You know.
Like Mariah Carey just had this big $20 million. That's like a huge deal, right?
So you feeling that?
No, well, what I mean, I don't understand. What the public sees the word $20 million an album. Well,
let's see. Do you all think that's a good deal?
What, I mean, tell me why. I mean, what am I missing?
Okay, let's do some math.
Okay.
If
You do math like that?
Yeah, well, kinda. If you sign me,
Okay.
you signed me to a record company,
Right.
or a record deal, let's suppose you have a record company.
Right.
How much would you give me? The album sells for $18, right? $18?
Whatever, yeah.
All right. How much of that would you give me?
Well, I don't know how it works.
Well, no. What,
Half?
Half? Half sound good?
Yeah.
All right, check this out. If I sell 1 million copies, I'm going to have $10 million, right? Roughly $10 million.
Right.
If I sell 2 million copies, I got $20 million.
Right.
If I just sell 3 million copies, I got $30 million. Now who has the biggest record deal?
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Okay.
Right?
Right.
So Mariah kind of got screwed.
Agree about what's happened here. The blame game has begun. A lot of people want to blame Bobby Brown. A lot of people want to blame the music business. A lot of people want to blame everyone. What do you think?
Well, it's all of the above and a whole lot more, but it boils down to you. I was introduced to certain people and to certain opportunities to use recreational drugs, and it boils down to whether I want to do it or not. And she was a strong-willed, strong-minded girl. And I can't say that's all anybody's fault, but...
Would she have gone down that route, do you think, without Bobby Brown in her life?
Well, if it would without him, somebody else. If she wants to get high. If you want to get high, you're going to get high.
And do you think she had that tendency anyway?
I think that we all, as artists, because we're highly sensitive people, and this machine around us, this so-called music industry, is such a demonic thing. It sacrifices people's lives and their essences at the drop of a dime.
And how did you feel when you heard that Sony, I think it was back in the UK, had jacked the prices up of Whitney's album?
It reminds me...
Within an hour or so of her dying.
Yeah, that reminds me of the time I had a manager once that said to me, you're worth more money dead than alive. Okay, so I am just, by the grace of God, stand I here, because I could have easily, because of a lot of pressure from the label I was with at the time. I went through a really, really rough time. Where I didn't want to go outside, didn't want to be seen, didn't want to be around. I really didn't.
Let me ask you a specific question. I'm assuming...
I had to ask some friends because I was hearing a lot about her, and so they told me, who she was and what she was doing. And I come from the school of thought there's just some things that the public just shouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like things that happen between two people, a wife and a husband, girl. I just don't think that it's for mass consumption. I just have always felt that way, and I just think that the whole idea of celebrity and fame has become really convoluted and, kind of bastardized, like whereas fame used to be the byproduct of success, and now it's the ultimate goal. And if your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street and it's going nowhere. Like that's just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really not worth it.
And rock music is not just a song. It is supernatural music that which is carefully designed by their spirit guides or familiar spirits in the form of spells. Now, although the devil's music's power is the music and God's music is the words, much of the songs are written in what we call witch language. Give you kind of an idea. Many of you talk on a CB, unless you know what a smoky is, and a 10-4, and a front door and back door and rocking chair and these type of things. You don't know what you're talking about. Same with witches. When you're in the first and second level, you have to learn over 2,000 words that said by anybody else mean something totally different than when you say them. Elton John has said he's never written a song or sung a song that wasn't in witch language. And I want to show you something. See how many kids in here, be honest, and adults. How many remember and have heard at least several times a song called Hotel California? Somebody tell me what it meant. Quickly, somebody tell me what it meant. Huh? That's pretty close. But from the words, what did it mean? Well, that's more of a guess. See, most people can't tell you. That's why when people do drugs and they listen to songs in which language, they get some of the meaning. But most of the time, they can't tell you. Stop and think how many songs are out there that you really like, and you don't have any idea what the person was talking about.
Trust me, you can sell 10 million albums and be broke if you have greedy people behind you. All right. This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone, get ready to do your math. When we first started out, we were kind of cocky. Okay, there are 100 points on the album. TLC had 7. Every point is equal to 8 cents. All right? 7 times 8, 56 cents. But as time went on, we learned a lot. That means every time an album gets sold, TLC gets 56 cents. So 10 million records, $5.6 million. Seems like a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money when the record company has spent $3 million to record your album. And in the record business, we pay all costs back to the record company. We pay recording costs, video costs. So now we have $2.6 million left. Well, guess what? When you have that much money, you're in about the 47, 48, 49% tax bracket. So that immediately gets deducted to $1.3 million. Then you split the rest 3 ways. You got about $300,000 a piece, if that much. Okay? $300,000. I can buy a nice house with that. And what am I going to pay my bills with?
We would have went to independence quicker had that 360 deal not existed because it kept the labels alive. From a label aspect, it was amazing. Great job, Kevin and Leor. You are now keeping Def Jam afloat because now you're taking their tour and their merch. That's not great for the artist.
As you mentioned, you were one of the first ones to go completely independent. And it seems more independent artists, as you know, as with the internet and with just the access to music, more independent artists are being able to expose the shadiness of major labels in music and also when they write online. Yet it seems like a lot of artists are still signing with majors. Why do you think that is? I mean, if the ultimate lesson is that if you sign with a major, you're going to get screwed somehow financially, why do people continue to go to major labels?
Because they don't know. Because they don't know, and people put up this image. Because you still got the image of a 2 Chainz and this one and the Future and all these other artists that are getting the commercial viability. Like they are getting, and I don't want to speak on their situations, contract wise, financial wise, anything else. But I will say this. You know, being on the major label is like dealing with a machine, you know, a big machine, like a Walmart of music. And, you know, there's no way Walmart takes 90%, give you 10%. Sure, they're going to sell $3 million, so you'll get 10% of $3 million. You'll be okay, but they take 90%. You understand? That's number one.
The corporate system doesn't owe me anything. I'm very aware and I understand exactly the situation when I walk into it. I don't have love for that corporation. That corporation don't have love for me. This is a business arrangement. And I think too many times when we're dealing with our art, we put our love into it and expect that person is going to love you back. That person is never going to love you. If we take, for instance, the letter that Nas wrote today, some people may not know. What he said was to L.A. Reid, Steve Bartles, people that I know well. He basically said, why are you not putting out my album? Stop trying to be an artist. Stop trying to tell me what to do. Okay? The problem is that they told Nas that album won't count against him owing Def Jam albums. When you sign with a label, you don't sign for 1 album. You sign for 7 albums, right? So the album that he wanted to put out, which is called Lost Tapes, wouldn't count against those 7 albums. So he don't want to put it out. Basically, they're pimping you even further. You understand what I'm saying? And I own my master.
The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on and is placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master is cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies. behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar, setting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master. As I tell many Christian parents, you can go home and count your kids' records, probably yours too, and count how many demons at least are there. If that's too hard for you to believe, I'm sorry. That's why they do it. Now listen to me. This is why rock music's addicting. Have you ever seen kids that got rid of their music? They go around like this. They can't wait to find a rock station somewhere and they sneak off just like getting a cigarette or a fix because it's addicting. That's why they can't give it up.
The problem is that you signed the contract. When you get into the situation in the first place, you asked to become a slave. You asked for it.
Make sure you put something on that line before you sign that contract. Because we're under occupation.
You went and chased down whoever you could chase down that was a representative of that label and asked them, please make me a slave.
The line that says signature, I have all rights reserved, and then I have the straw signature over that. Because I know how to live within contracts.
Do you understand what that is? So, okay, now as a progressive person, somebody that has a mind that sits in these meetings and hears nonsense all day, and when I'm sitting in front of L.A. Reid and I raise my hand and I'm like, that's nonsense, they tell me that that's going to sell.
Make sure you put something on that line before you sign that contract. Because we're under occupation.
That's the whole response. The company doesn't care, righteous, unrighteous. They care about money. Period, point blank. If you look back at hip-hop in 1989, Righteous was selling. So they was down with Righteous.
Right? This man in Switzerland talking about he's willing to pay to get some brass tacks vinyl. This is recent. This is like 2010 or something. Right? And these are brothers from the block. Brothers that we know, right? Now, Star of David. Then the eagle on the back of the dollar bill, the stars above the head make a Star of David. What the Star of David really represents is the fez. Just so you put the relation to the Star of David. Anytime you see the Star of David, in your mind, think fez. Because the Star of David is a representation of the fez, which is Moorish. So brass tacks was on some Moorish science in 1996. And again, this went all the way to Switzerland, China. Right? No wonder they'll pay $800 for it. Because the frequency of what it is Moorish science. It's not some black stuff.
Beyond the Yellow Brick Road, how about The Destroyer by Kiss? Can anybody tell me what it's about? Kiss said in it, kids, kill your parents. They're talking about Helter Skelter. Beatles sung Helter Skelter in which language? Nobody knew what it meant. Manson did because he belonged to the process. Helter Skelter is a several thousand-year-old word. Most of the music is either about Helter Skelter or a place called the Night Winds, which is what Hotel California is about, and different doctrines of witchcraft. You listen to them, your parents let you listen to them, and they have no idea. Kiss openly bragged how they were gaining control of people through their music because the people played their music. They told how they didn't form their own group. Their church, because they were ordained ministers of the Satanist church, placed them together. And that's how most of the music is done. David Crosby, when him and Crosby, Still Nash and Young produced the record Two-Way Street, they ordered the principality of Medici to order demons of rebellion to go into the record, and everybody that heard it would be rebellious against law and order and government.
You understand? Now nonsense is selling, so they down with nonsense. It's about greed and about power and control, and they really, really, really see the end coming. The end is coming. 10 years from now, these record labels will not be here in the capacity that they are now. Because it doesn't make sense. If I'm an artist, I would not sign to a major record label at this point. Because I do all the work.
Some of the new models that we're talking about are, one, One I don't like, which is called 360, and I'll explain that in a moment. Another one is ad revenue sharing. Another one is, excuse me, another one is giving away your product and hoping people will come to your concerts. Let me talk about the 360 a moment. 360 is coming along on several levels. Recently, everybody's seen the publicity concerning the Madonna 360. What is 360? 360 is the record company or the company, we won't call it the record company for a moment, the company and the artist will share in all aspects of the artist's career. Means record sales, concert tours, merchandising, publishing, all aspects, all potential income. That's what 360 seems to mean at this particular point. Now, for somebody like Madonna, in which they're paying, reportedly in the trades, a lot of money, something in excess of $120 million, if that's true, for all these aspects, that sounds like a good deal for her. I don't know her finances. I don't know the company's finances, but it sounds like a terrific deal. So she gives them all the services. She pockets big checks, and her future seems to be secure. If it wasn't really already secure, it seems to be that it was. But what the record companies are doing with new acts are trying to do the same thing, but in a much less way. And let me explain that. The record companies, when they've signed an artist in the past, they sign them for their record rights. They have went ahead and then they exploited the records. They marketed it, they promoted it, they sold the records, and they paid the artist a royalty. They paid the publisher a royalty, they paid the artist a royalty, and they took their income and they made their profits from that. Did 10 out of 10 artists succeed that they signed? No. Maybe 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 artists succeeded, but the ones who succeeded at such a level that the record companies were able to make lots of money out of the ones that succeeded to pay for all of the ones that didn't succeed. Now, they say, well, why didn't they? The next question is, well, why didn't they sign more acts that would succeed? Well, there's not many geniuses in our business. I don't know of any genius in the business that can pick 10 out of 10.
Number two, major labels made something called a 360 deal. Because people like Leo Cohen said, let me tell you something, it ain't right that we blowing these artists up to platinum, 3 platinum, 4 platinum, then a sneaker company or a company like LG or Sony comes and says, listen, I got a $10 million deal for you to sign for this TV contract. Now, the record label gets no part of that because their contract only deals with music only.
Right.
So they said, let's do something called a 360 where no matter what they do, we get a percentage of it. Matter of fact, we're going to give them upfront money and go look for a deal for them so we can take the upfront money plus a percentage plus X, Y, da-da-da. So it may look like it's cool to be on the major. You'll get all the stardom and you get all of this. But when you deal with a major, you're basically screwed. And look, there's no way, right? 50 Cent is a very, very smart artist. You know, why would he go independent? You know, if it was cool, if it was if it was the right way. You know, if you got all your money, you know, why would he go independent? People say, oh, he's screwed because when he was major, he blew up and sold X amount of sales. Yeah, that is true. But what did it take to sell 10 million records? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't. You know, you know, what it takes to sell that amount of copies will blow your mind. You know what I'm saying? So if it was really good, 50 wouldn't have left. 50 would have stayed. So it just shows you that the real route to go is be independent, get all your money, get everything. If you sell 10,000 copies, that's a check for $100,000. You know, sell 20, that's 200. You know what it is. Sell 100, that's $1 million. But it's your million. You know what I'm saying? It's your bread.
Right. A genius is somebody who picks 1 or 2 out of 10, not 10 out of 10, because you don't know ultimately what the public will respond to. And you also don't know early on if this is an artist, even though they've failed early, whether they'll succeed later. So philosophies change. An example of that is I think it took Bruce Springsteen, I don't know, 3 albums to succeed. A number of other artists of that nature, Steely Dan. It took several products, several albums for them to succeed. The companies believed in it, they stayed with it, and ultimately they succeeded. Today, the philosophy is if they don't succeed on the first album or the first couple weeks of the new album, they drop it. So they don't know whether they have a viable artist or not because they're not staying with it long enough. And that's a bad thing. Back to where I was on the 360 aspect of it. So the record companies made their money from the sale of records. So now they see the sales of records have gone down. So their way of making up for it is, instead of thinking through the business model and finding better ways to market and promote and to protect their product, they say, oh, we'll take other pieces of the artist. Now, that's not a business model in my estimation. That you take a young artist and you say, well, now we're going to take your touring, we're going to take your merchandising, we're going to take your publishing, in addition to your record rights. Does that mean that the record companies will now succeed because they're grabbing all these other pieces?
It's the rhyme. I record everything. I mix it. Then I have to hand it in and I don't own it. And I make 10 cents off of it. That doesn't make sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. So if I can sell 5,000 or 10,000 on my own, I would rather do that. But we as a people, the minister said it best. Like, you so impressed with the shiny Cadillac, and we're going to use the same word that he used, but you can replace that with anything. You're so impressed with this shininess that you don't see the value of being on your own. The only thing they do for you is give you a loan. That's all it is. It's a bank. When you walk in there, they give you however much, $1 million, right? You hear somebody say, oh, I signed for $1 million. They don't got $1 million in their pocket. That $1 million is used to distribute your CD.
Market, promote, publicize.
Right. A whole bunch of nonsense that's not necessary anymore. So the understanding has to come that we don't need to sign up to be slaves, and then you won't deal with that situation. So to me, the corporate structure of music, they don't owe me anything because that's not my parent. You understand what I'm saying? I mix a record, they pay me. That's all I expect. I don't expect them to be progressive for me. I expect me to be progressive for me. You understand what I'm saying? And the problem comes is that there are progressive artists out there that put out great music, that teach lessons. It's the people don't support those artists.
So. And I don't think that that is a substitute for the record companies finding a business model that works. Now, in addition to the fact, this is where I was going, in addition to the fact that the record companies seem to be unprepared for Sean Fanning and Napster when it came along, and unprepared for the digital age, and were very slow to react. They also were companies that were completely transformed from sole proprietorships to corporate monoliths. Now, the result of that was as follows. At one time, you had Herbie Alpert and Jerry Moss, who had A&M Records, and you had David Geffen, who had Geffen Records, and you had Ahmet Ertegun, who had Atlantic Records, and you had Dave Kapp, who had Kapp Records, and you had endless number of these, Johnny Mercer, who formed Capitol Records. All these were started by entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who had an ear for talent, and they went out and they discovered, they nurtured this talent, and they ran these companies to a degree by the seat of the pants. If they believed in an artist, they signed the artist. If they believed that that artist would succeed ultimately, even though the first album or 2 albums failed, they would stay with it because they believed in it, and they rode with it. Now, as the major corporations came in and started buying up all of these entrepreneurs. They bought up A&M Records, they bought Geffen Records, they bought Atlantic Records, they just on and on. They bought, I can't remember, Seymour Stein's company, I forget the name of that company, the one who discovered Madonna. They bought one of these companies after another. Now, in order to buy these companies and pay $500 million or $600 million or $700, whatever the sums were that they were paying for all these vibrant companies, they had to borrow money. In order to borrow money, I mean, when they borrowed money, they had debt service. They had to pay off debts to accomplish this. In order to pay off debts, they started firing the people that they bought. The very talented people, the very great A&R and talent discovery people, they started firing these people. So instead of it having a positive effect, it was having a negative effect. So now less great talent was being discovered and signed. The companies were cutting down on their marketing and promotion. And so they were hurting themselves while they were expanding. And so when you combine that aspect of it, the corporate debt that was imposed on these companies, with the unpreparedness for the digital age, that's almost the perfect storm for a disaster in our industry. And that's what's happened. And that's why we find ourselves where we are today, or that's where we find ourselves today. And that's why this is the most major upheaval in our industry that I've ever seen. And I don't know how we're going to get out of it. It's not going to be easy.
Deep incision, rapper inquisition, 100 lashes for tight pants and coke sniffing. Tartan feather, a whack rapper in Averex leather, pouring melted vinyl down throats for whack quotes. Draw in quarter, stacking up fiat notes of debt. Put your life in the vice of death and step to the guillotine, draw the cord. Before you call the Lord, you don't know what I have in store. DJ needles and eyelids keep you silent in the soundproof vocal booth that I'm in. Bounded with speaker cords make you weaker. Crush your mic can with a jam speaker. Take you through highs, cause bulging eyes and pop ears. Fire on you rapping quiz and girls kissing girls in videos and hugging. Getting off in some make-believe clubbing. Soldier boys, don't make me scold your boy. Like your mom finding out that you stole a toy. Don't come around, boy, we bury some boys with a hearse verse. Lump your throat with a curse. Life in my hands like your night nurse. Subdue your dyke, cause I know that she can't fight. Not the men in black, but we flashing the lights. Convention picked by most deaf was tight. Rapper inquisition. Rapper inquisition. Rapper inquisition. Hold your position. Rapper inquisition. Convert to hip-hop or get deep incisions. Expel to the next hell, don't look back or return. You get chased down for that. Stomp the salt grains under steamrollers. I'm a soldier, not a soldier. Some say witchcraft, I say Orbia and Voodoo. Demolition man carved a stone for your tomb. Whack rapper, wrap it up, you're so bored. Ho Chi carpenter, hammer nails in y'all. Two through your palm, one through your insteps. Fear make a rapper hurl what he ingests. Fly cause of big shades looking like insects. Rapping dum-dums, whacker insects. Cause you deal drugs and chill with real thugs. Put it on your album, I swear it's bugged. Putting business out there like we need to hear. As a listener, fake MC rapper, I'm dissing ya. You could get rapping after cracker jacked, or box with the mic or backhand slapped. When I flow as water, torture MCs, putting rapping dummies in their place like me. Out of the get a deal race is me. A&Rs and managers going to face D. Bright and out of order, give me your order, I accept it for value and you get slaughtered. See me in the bloody apron like a butcher. Off the stage in a violent rage, I push ya. I won't hide behind the curtain to hook ya. I'm the MC promoter that just won't book ya. Look ya, rappers fall more than rain. The Inquisition hurting rappers more than Spain. And we're back, rapping Inquisition. We're back, rapper Inquisition. Rapping Inquisition. Ancients have returned. Rapper Inquisition. Just listen, rapper Inquisition. Hold your position, rapper Inquisition. Rapper Inquisition. Rapper Inquisition. Gonna draw and quarter you whack.